Welcome to Dad's XP, the show where we review video games from a dad's perspective. My name's Paul Irizarry, and today we will be reviewing Modern Warfare 3.
Last call, or he takes over.
He'll know you were here. I'm as good as dead without my money. I need my money!
We need Makarov. Where is he?
All right, where do I start with this one? Modern Warfare 3 is the sequel to Modern Warfare 2. Not the 2009 Modern Warfare 2, but the 2022 Modern Warfare 2. And a very big thing to point out here is the fact that there was supposed to be a break year here in 2023 with Call of Duty. It was actually reported last year that 2023 was supposed to be a break year, but I guess here we are with a brand new title in the Call of Duty franchise. If you guys like these videos, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, because we're just regular old dads playing video games and reviewing them for other dads to know if video games or specific video games are worth their time and money. So let's start with this review of Modern Warfare 3 now that we kind of rushed through a little bit of the information I gave you guys there. Modern Warfare 3, again, the sequel of Modern Warfare 2 2022, was a rushed game. And this is important because once I start reviewing the game, you'll start understanding why I'm being so critical about certain parts of it and not others. So Modern Warfare 3 was not supposed to be its own standalone thing. From my understanding, there was supposed to be a break year, and the developers behind Modern Warfare 3 only had approximately 18 months to complete this game to its entirety, the project to its entirety. And under those 18 months, I guess they understood that this was supposed to be some sort of expansion for Modern Warfare 2. Fast forward to today, and here's the review for Modern Warfare 3. On the console that I played was a PlayStation 5. So let's start with the worst part of the game first, which would be the story, or whatever you want to call it, because if you play the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 campaign, you're looking at approximately 4 to maybe 5 hours, right? So 4 to 5 hours for this campaign to be played to completion, and it's kind of scattered. If you asked me what this campaign was about, I would have a very hard time explaining it back to you because of the way it's constructed. Call of Duty has been known, or at least the campaign side of Call of Duty has been known for blockbuster cinematic action sequences that are really fun and super frantic gameplay, and Modern Warfare 3 has none of that. Instead, it has a loosely stitched together set of story missions, none of them super memorable in my opinion, except for the open combat missions, which are essentially just Warzone based missions, if you will. So you're in an open sandbox map, and you can do whatever you want. You can do the tasks or the objectives in any order that you want, but you loot caches and you get gear and weapon and armor as you progress throughout the map, and it's pretty loosey-goosey approach the objective in your own manner, in your own playstyle. It doesn't really translate for me personally in the game. The reason for that is you'll have one mission that is, okay, and you're maybe potentially leading into the next mission that should be set up to be this frantic, cinematic thing that you're used to in Call of Duty, but then you're greeted with open combat mission when the mission starts, and you're like, oh man, here we go. None of that is going to actually play out, and that is exactly what happens. So the pacing in the story is kind of all over the place for me personally. And I don't think the loose ends for Modern Warfare 2 get tied up well enough here. Now, the game is basically like the end of the world, right? Like what you're fighting against here, it's very serious stuff, but it doesn't feel serious enough for the campaign purpose. So again, the campaign of Modern Warfare 3 is the weakest point, and now there have been Call of Duty titles that have no campaigns, so it almost feels like an insult to add or slap this quote-unquote campaign in and call it a campaign. The open combat mission, for example, almost feel more like Spec Ops missions. So, I feel like there could have been a better approach there. Maybe just don't include a campaign if you didn't want to. But I digress. The worst part of the game is the campaign. Moving from the campaign, we can actually start reviewing the game for what most people will probably just play it for, because let's be honest, no one really plays Call of Duty just for the campaign. And if you did, it's not worth the full price because Call of Duty campaigns are usually 6 to 8 hour stories. They're really relatively short. But you know, if you like Call of Duty campaigns, this is going to be one of the weaker campaigns. But let's go ahead and talk about everything else. You know, that sound, the graphics, the gameplay, the replayability. In terms of graphics and sound, I'm going to be straight up. If you've played Modern Warfare 2, you've played this one. They're still good. They're a little bit better. There's some areas where, you know, some of the lighting looks a little bit better here and there and whatnot, so it's good. In terms of the graphics in a cinematic approach, there's not that many cinematic shots, right? So as opposed to like Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 2019, you had a lot more, you know, cinematic shots where you can probably say like, oh my God, this looks insane, this looks amazing. But instead what you get is good-looking shooter game. And I'm not trying to just shoot this game off as like a horrible experience, because it's not. It's just not an on-par Call of Duty with what you would expect campaign-wise. Now, if we transition over to multiplayer, which is where, again, the majority of us are going to be at most of the time, it's a great game. The biggest selling feature of this game for me coming into it was the fact that you are going back to the Modern Warfare 2 maps. The good old 2009 days where those trash-talking lobbies were infested with Mountain Dew, Dorito-eating teenagers and young men. You get those maps back. The lobbies, not so much. But the maps are back. The maps are great. They play very well. They got a fresh coat of paint. You get all your standard game modes, you know, team deathmatch, hardpoint. You get your search and destroy. There are some game modes missing, and that was a complaint some people had. But again, they usually do this with multiplayer Call of Duties. You know, they just eventually give you a playlist update and you get a new game mode. So again, the gameplay is really well. The guns play very well as well. I mean, you literally get all your weapons from Modern Warfare 2. Passed over to Modern Warfare 3, which is great. It's a plus, but it almost feels extremely cluttered. And honestly, personally, I don't care what weapon I'm using at certain points. So it can get a little bit cumbersome with so many options. I feel like it would have been nice if they vaulted them for a bit and brought them back, like maybe in like Season 2 or Season 1 or something like that. Just, you know, we hold them off for a little bit. You can use them in Warzone, then you can use them in multiplayer after like Season 1 or 2. That's a personal preference because, you know, you're playing with some people that just have a fully kitted weapon off the bat and you're just trying to level up your lower level weapons, and it's just kind of a little bit of an unfair advantage there. But again, it's not nothing that would break the game, because if you've played Call of Duty, you're always going to be paired with somebody that has better weapons than you. So again, I don't want to go on a tangent. You're getting regular standard Call of Duty. In terms of improvements from Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3, which would be the biggest thing here for multiplayer purposes, movement feels a lot better. You do have your class systems a little bit different. You have little kits like assault vests that you can, they're quote unquote, they're just perks. So you know, the creative class is a little bit different, but it's still the same. It's kind of hard to explain. If you play Call of Duty, you understand what I'm talking about. Your weapons are going to be the same. Your perks are just labeled as vests, if you will. So again, it's the same thing that you always get. The new thing, however, like the new feature, would be the zombies. So you do have zombies here, and it is a sort of a Warzone approach to zombies. So just picture you're in a Warzone map, except it's infested with zombies all over the place, and you're doing missions. There's different tiers of missions that you can do for the zombie mode, and it's actually surprisingly fun. I found myself playing that zombies mode for quite a bit of time, and ultimately it's pretty good. In terms of gameplay, like I was mentioning, sound and graphics pretty much the same on par. They're still really good. But moving on to gameplay, for example, I think it's just as good as any other Call of Duty. You're going to get your standard, I'm going to play some multiplayer here, drop into zombies for a bit, switch back to multiplayer, switch to these game modes that you've always gotten. The drop in and drop out feature of Call of Duty is just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And it's almost broken, but it's not quite just yet. So clearly they haven't fixed it. Ultimately, the game is just a standard Call of Duty game. And it's really hard to just put emphasis on that. But in reality, as a dad, you've played this game before, and it is the same game as Modern Warfare 2. And that's not a bad thing. There are some refinements. Like I said, in that movement, there is refinement there. There's refinement in the speed. The fact that you're getting some new maps, a fresh coat of paint to older maps, really. But they have more features. You know, you could open some more doors. That's always great, right? But ultimately, the game is great. It's a good game. It's a good game for what it is, multiplayer wise. If you're focusing solely on the campaign, it is not that great. In terms of replayability, that is the strongest suit of this game. It's that replayability. The fact that you have those weapons carrying over, you're not alienated off the bat with new weapons. You have some weapons that if you're more familiar with some from Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone, you can just go ahead and slot those in and play with those weapons perfectly fine. So again, it's not like all that time that you had was wasted, which is a big plus for us here at Dad's XP, right? Anything that saves you time or respects the time that you put into a game is a big plus here. That's great. However, there isn't that many innovative things into Modern Warfare 3 to make this a big recommendation. Like, you need to pick up Modern Warfare 3 because this is the best thing ever since sliced bread. This ain't it. So ultimately, for my review on Modern Warfare 3 for the PlayStation 5, it's going to get a 7 out of 10. If you look only at the campaign, I would drop that score down to like a 4 or a 5 out of 10. But putting the bundle together, putting everything together, it's hard to go any lower than a 7. But if I had to be super critical, I'd drop it down to a 6. But again, for my Dad's XP review of Modern Warfare 3 on the PlayStation 5, we're giving it a 7 out of 10. Just go in with the mindset that if you've played one Call of Duty, you've played them all. And if you're really big on nostalgia, this is a buy for you, right? You go right back into those maps. You'll have lobbies that populate quickly. You can get to play in High Rise. You get to play in Rust. You get to play in those maps that you played back in 2009. But without any further delay, that's been the review for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Remember, drop us a like, comment, and subscribe to Dad's XP. Hey, we buy these games with our own cash. We fund these games ourselves. We put the time aside ourselves from our family to review these games for you, dads like us. So, if you appreciate that, make sure to drop a like and support the channel. Without any further delay, my name's been Irizarry with Dad's XP. Until next time, take it easy.